Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds telephonic conversation with US President Donald Trump, discusses the Pahalgam terror attack, Operation Sindoor at length. Trump expresses condolences on the Pahalgam terror attack and support against terrorism. India reiterates there was no third-party mediation that brought halt to the hostilities during Operation Sindoor. Prime Minister Modi sets record straight on mediation with Donald Trump.
कि भारत ने न तो कभी मध्यस्थता स्वीकार की थी, न करता है और न ही कभी करेगा.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds bilateral talks with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Leaders agree to restore high commissioners to realize potential of the relationship. Prime Minister Modi en route for Croatia on the third leg of his three-nation visit. First visit of the Indian Prime Minister to Croatia since 1991 to hold bilateral talks with Croatian counterpart on issues of mutual interest. And US Embassy in Jerusalem shut till Friday. Trump calls for Iran's unconditional surrender. Iranian leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei says Iran will show Israel no mercy as airstrikes rage on. Iran extends flight cancellations till 10:30 hours GMT on Wednesday. US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a 35-minute phone call on the sidelines of the G7 summit today. The call was made on the request from the US side. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri briefed all on the phone conversation.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी और राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप की मुलाकात G7 समिट की साइडलाइंस पर होनी तय थी. राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को जल्दी वापस अमेरिका लौटना पड़ा, जिसके कारण ये मुलाकात नहीं हो पाई. इसके बाद राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप के आग्रह पर आज दोनों लीडर्स की फोन पर बात हुई. बातचीत लगभग 35 मिनट चली.
During the phone call, Prime Minister Modi gave the details of the Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor, where India followed its new anti-terror policy.
22 अप्रैल को पहलगाम आतंकी हमले के बाद राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप ने फोन पर प्रधानमंत्री मोदी को शोक संवेदना प्रकट की थी और आतंक के खिलाफ समर्थन व्यक्त किया था. उसके बाद दोनों लीडर्स की ये पहली बातचीत थी. इसलिए प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप से ऑपरेशन सिंदूर के बारे में विस्तार से बात की. प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को स्पष्ट रूप से कहा कि 22 अप्रैल के बाद भारत ने आतंकवाद के खिलाफ कार्रवाई करने का अपना दृढ़ संकल्प पूरी दुनिया को बता दिया था. प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने कहा कि 6-7 मई की रात को भारत ने पाकिस्तान और पाकिस्तान ऑक्यूपाइड कश्मीर में सिर्फ आतंकी ठिकानों को ही निशाना बनाया था. भारत के एक्शन बहुत ही मेजर्ड, प्रिसाइज और नॉन एस्केलेटरी थे. साथ ही भारत ने यह भी स्पष्ट कर दिया था कि पाकिस्तान की गोली का जवाब भारत गोले से देगा.
The Foreign Secretary added that on the night of May 9th, US Vice President J.D. Vance had called Prime Minister Modi. He informed that Vance had said that Pakistan could launch a major attack on India, and Prime Minister Modi told him in clear terms that if that happens, India would respond even more strongly.
की रात को उपराष्ट्रपति वांस ने प्रधानमंत्री मोदी को फोन किया था. उपराष्ट्रपति वांस ने कहा था कि पाकिस्तान भारत पर बड़ा हमला कर सकता है. प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने उन्हें साफ शब्दों में बताया था कि यदि ऐसा होता है तो भारत पाकिस्तान को उससे भी बड़ा जवाब देगा. 9-10 मई की रात को पाकिस्तान के हमले का भारत ने बहुत सशक्त जवाब दिया. और पाकिस्तान की सेना को बहुत नुकसान पहुंचाया। उसके मिलिट्री एयर बेसिस को इनऑपरेबल बना दिया। भारत के मुंहतोड़ जवाब के कारण पाकिस्तान को भारत से सैन्य कार्रवाई रोकने का आग्रह करना पड़ा।
Prime Minister Modi also clearly told President Trump that during Operation Sindoor, at no point were topics such as that of India-US trade deal or US's mediation between India and Pakistan were discussed.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को स्पष्ट रूप से कहा कि इस पूरे घटनाक्रम के दौरान कभी भी किसी भी स्तर पर भारत अमेरिका ट्रेड डील या अमेरिका द्वारा भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच मध्यस्थता जैसे विषयों पर बात नहीं हुई थी। सैन्य कार्रवाई रोकने की बात सीधे भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच दोनों सेनाओं की एग्जिस्टिंग चैनल्स के माध्यम से हुई थी और पाकिस्तान के ही आग्रह पर हुई थी। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने जोर देकर कहा कि भारत ने न तो कभी मध्यस्थता स्वीकार की थी, न करता है और न ही कभी करेगा।
The two leaders also spoke about the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the Israel-Iran tensions.
राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने इजराइल ईरान के बीच चल रहे संघर्ष पर भी चर्चा की। रूस यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पर दोनों ने सहमति जताई कि जल्द से जल्द शांति के लिए दोनों पक्षों में सीधी बातचीत आवश्यक है और इसके लिए प्रयास करते रहना चाहिए।
President Trump further asked Prime Minister Modi if he could stop over in the US on his way back from Canada. Prime Minister Modi, however, expressed his inability to do so, keeping in mind his pre-scheduled arrangements. Further, for the next Quad meeting, Prime Minister Modi invited President Trump to visit India, which he accepted. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi this morning concluded a productive Canada visit where he participated in the G7 Outreach Summit in Kananaskis. He thanked the Canadian people and government for hosting a successful G7 summit, which witnessed fruitful discussions on diverse global issues. Prime Minister Modi said that India remains committed to furthering global peace, prosperity and sustainability. Other leaders of Australia, Brazil, Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, Ukraine and heads of international organizations, United Nations and World Bank convened for a collective commitment to addressing global challenges and promoting common values. France will host the next G7 Leaders Summit at the Alpine Spa resort town of Evian-les-Bains, bordering Switzerland on the shores of Lake Geneva. Evian already hosted the G7 in 2003. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on the sidelines of the 51st G7 Leaders Summit in Kananaskis, complimenting the counterpart and the government for successfully hosting the summit. Both leaders held discussions on a wide range of issues. In a joint remark, Prime Minister Modi said that India has kept the foundation in G20 for global good and it should be taken forward at the G7 as well. Prime Minister Modi said India and Canada are connected by a strong belief in democracy, freedom and rule of law. And both leaders looked forward to working closely to add momentum in the India-Canada friendship in areas like that of trade, energy, space, clean energy, critical minerals and fertilizers.
पिछले दिनों G20 समिट की अध्यक्षता के रूप में भारत ने विश्व के लिए अनेक उपकारक ऐसे इनिशिएटिव लिए हैं। आज G7 के अंदर G20 में भारत ने जो मजबूत नींव रखी है उसको एक प्रकार से नए स्वरूप में G7 में उसके एग्जीक्यूशन की दिशा में ले जाने में एक बहुत बड़ा अवसर है और भारत इस अवसर का उपयोग ग्लोबल गुड के लिए करने के लिए हमेशा इच्छुक रहा है, आगे भी इच्छुक रहेगा।
Canada and India have agreed to restore high commissioners in both countries. The announcement came after the two leaders met on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said that these steps will boost India-Canada ties. He added that other areas of discussion between the two leaders included artificial intelligence, critical minerals and trade.
The Prime Ministers agreed to take calibrated steps to restore stability to this very important relationship. And the first of these steps that was agreed on was to restore High Commissioners to each other's capitals at an early date. Other diplomatic steps will follow in due course. The two Prime Ministers also agreed to resume senior and working level mechanisms and discussions in a host of areas related to trade, to people contact and connectivity, all of them intended to bring greater momentum to the relationship.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to arrive in Croatia, marking a historic and strategically significant visit that underscores India's deepening engagement with Central and Eastern Europe. DD India's Jessica Taneja sent us this report from Zagreb.
Heels of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's participation in the G7 summit, the engagements in Zagreb will extend beyond traditional bilateral pleasantries and serve as a strategic exploration of how Croatia fits into India's expanding European vision. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival in Croatia marks a significant milestone. It will be the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister since this Adriatic nation gained independence in 1991. And as India and the European Union seek to conclude a potential free trade agreement before this year ends, partners like Croatia not only provide critical leverage, but also important logistical pathways. Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to hold bilateral discussions with Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković and also meet President Zoran Milanović. These discussions are expected to cover a wide range of topics and present a vital opportunity to broaden bilateral cooperation across various sectors, including trade, innovation, defence, ports, shipping, science and technology, cultural exchanges, as well as workforce mobility. Croatia, an EU and NATO member, offers political stability and a growing economy. With 2.9% GDP growth in the first quarter that has often outpaced the EU average, it holds significant cultural and strategic relevance that resonates in New Delhi. Its consistent support for India's aspiration for a permanent seat at the UNSC and its advocacy for India's membership in the Nuclear Suppliers Group are valued. Discussions will likely address cooperation in international forums on shared challenges such as climate change, counter-terrorism, and regional stability. The visit also highlights the importance of strengthening people-to-people contacts and cultural ties. Building on centuries-old cultural links, the University of Zagreb, with its historic Center for Indology and increasing Indian cultural influence in Croatia through various initiatives, underscores the existing cultural connections. Over the past decade, India's engagement with the continent has expanded significantly beyond its historical focus on major Western European economies. This visit is not an isolated event, but an integral component of India's evolving and increasingly nuanced approach to European diplomacy. Jessica Taneja for DD India in Zagreb, Croatia.
In more news from India, security forces on Tuesday killed 3 high-ranking Naxal commanders, including a Central Committee member, in the dense forests of Maradpalli near the Andhra Pradesh-Chhattisgarh border in Sukma district. The operation remains underway, with security forces continuing with combing efforts in the area. The encounter is seen as a significant blow to the Naxal network, as several top commanders of the group have been killed. Updates next on the Ahmedabad plane crash. 6 days after the unfortunate incident, authorities continue to work round the clock to ensure that DNA samples could be matched and remains handed over to the grieving families as quickly as possible. So far, tests have verified the identities of 184 victims who died on June 12th crash, and the mortal remains of 133 victims were handed over to their families. The testing is being done by teams from the Forensic Science Laboratory and National Forensic Sciences University. The Gujarat government is closely coordinating with the civil hospital to ensure smooth communication between officials and victims' families. The India Meteorological Department has issued red alert for Assam and Meghalaya for 18th and 19th of June, followed by orange alert on 21st of June, whereas the rest of the northeastern states have been issued orange alerts. Assam and Meghalaya are likely to experience extremely heavy rainfall, while heavy to very heavy rainfall is likely to continue over the northeast during the next 7 days. You're with us on DD India Live, still to come on the show. Global crude oil prices surge 4%, Asian stocks slide on worries that the Iran-Israel conflict could disrupt supplies. From ancient wisdom to modern wellness, yoga transforms over centuries to become a global phenomenon. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. The US Embassy in Jerusalem will be shut from Wednesday through Friday due to the security situation in the region and to comply with Israeli guidance. The US State Department said in a statement that the US Embassy in Jerusalem will be shut given the security situation and in compliance with the Israel Home Front Command guidance. This includes the consular sections in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. President Donald Trump met with his National Security Council meeting on Tuesday after calling for Iran's surrender. The embassy statement said that there was no current announcement about helping Americans leave the crisis area. Amid escalating tensions between Iran and Israel, US President Donald Trump called for Iran's unconditional surrender and warned that America's patience was wearing thin. Trump claimed that the US knows the exact location of Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, calling him an easy target, but added that he won't be taken out, at least for now. Trump also asserted that the US controls the skies over Iran and praised the effectiveness of US-made weaponry, though stopped short of directly naming Israel. Iran claimed early on Wednesday to have fired hypersonic missiles at Israel in the latest round of overnight strikes, hours after Trump demanded the Islamic Republic's unconditional surrender. The US president insists that Washington has played no part in ally Israel's bombing campaign, but also warned Iran that his patience is wearing thin as the conflict enters the sixth day. Israeli warplanes targeted the Iranian capital before dawn on Wednesday after the military issued a warning on social media for civilians in an area known as District 18 to evacuate. In retaliation, Iran told residents of Tel Aviv to prepare for an attack, with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claiming its hypersonic Fatah first missiles were repeatedly shaking the shelters in the commercial hub. Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on Wednesday issued a stern warning to Israel, vowing a harsh retaliation for its attacks. Taking to social media platform X, Khamenei said, and I quote him, "We must give a strong response to the terrorist Zionist regime. We will show the Zionists no mercy." So Iran and Israel launched new missile strikes at each other on Wednesday as the conflict between the two nations entered the sixth day. Israel's military has said that it has struck Iran deep, hitting its nuclear, ballistic and command capabilities. It launched at least 2 waves of strikes targeting missile and drone sites in western Iran. Multiple series of loud explosions were heard across Tehran over the course of the day, while Iranian media reported blasts in Isfahan, which hosts nuclear facilities. Israel said it intercepted most of the barrage of missiles fired from Iran after air raid sirens sounded in Tel Aviv and northern parts of the country. The Israeli military issued 7 missile alerts for various parts of the country since midnight. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel's campaign seeks to eliminate Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs as well as what it called its axis of terrorism, a reference to Iranian-backed militant groups in the Middle East. He has also not ruled out killing the supreme leader. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said that regime change is not an objective of this war. It can be a result, but it's not an objective. Further, the Indian Embassy in Tel Aviv has issued an advisory for nationals in Israel to stay vigilant and follow safety protocols. In the advisory, it is said that Indians intending to leave should use land crossings and register with the embassy for assistance. The Embassy of India has also activated its helpline numbers 24/7 to provide assistance to Indian nationals. Those needing help or information can call on these following numbers on your screen right now: 972-54-7520-711 and 972-54-327-8392. And one can also email at cons1.telaviv@mea.gov.in. In addition, the Indian nationals who remain in Israel and have not yet registered with the embassy have been strongly urged to do so immediately via the registration portal. The address of the portal is indembassyisrael.gov.in/Indian_national_reg. That's for registration. In Nepal, the House of Representatives will now convene on Thursday following continued disruptions from the Rashtriya Swatantra Party or RSP over the ongoing visit visa scam controversy. The session, originally scheduled for Tuesday, was adjourned by Speaker due to the obstruction. Tuesday's session included discussions on the Federal Civil Services Bill and the 2082 report by the State Affairs and Good Governance Committee. However, the bill has faced significant backlash with over 1,500 proposed amendments and widespread protests from various trade unions who argue that the legislation threatens their development and rights. Still with Nepal, in Kathmandu, various jewellery shops were closed in protest against the newly introduced tax policies targeting the industry. Jewellery business leaders held discussions with Prime Minister KP Sharma Ole, expressing serious concerns over the proposed 13% VAT on diamond jewellery and a 2% luxury tax on gold and silver items outlined in the upcoming fiscal year's budget. Various jewellery associations also urged the Prime Minister to reconsider these tax provisions, warning that such measures could severely damage their businesses. As India prepares for the 11th International Day of Yoga on Saturday, June 21st, yoga sessions are being held at various locations with participants performing traditional poses. In Uttar Pradesh, a week-long yoga and educational workshop was organized in the Gorakhnath temple to mark the beginning of International Yoga Day celebrations. The event has been jointly organized by Mahayogi Guru Gorakhnath Yoga Institute, Gorakhnath Temple, and Maharana Pratap Shiksha Parishad. The inaugural session was graced by Professor Ramakrishna Reddy, Vice Chancellor of Ayush University. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.